Well, I just want to say as we conclude here that I've always found you to be an honest man, and I don't think you were part of any conspiracy to get the president, but I do believe that General Flynn went through hell, that a lot of things were withheld from the court that mattered. I think Carter Page was abused, and I can't believe the system did not pick it up, and the fact that it didn't is why we're here. Make sure it never happens again. But there's a statement out I want you to respond to, and we'll wrap up the hearing. This comes from Mr. McCabe. Mr. Rosenstein's claims to have been misled by me or anyone from the FBI regarding our concerns about President Trump and the Trump campaign's interactions with Russia are completely false. Mr. Rosenstein approved of and suggested ways to enhance our investigation of the president. Further, I personally briefed Mr. Rosenstein on Jim Comey's memos describing his interactions with the president mere days after Mr. Rosenstein wrote the memo firing Jim Comey. Mr. Rosenstein's testimony is completely at odds with the factual record. It looks to be yet another sad attempt by the president and his men to rewrite the history of their actions in 2017. They have found in Mr. Rosenstein, then and now, a willing accessory in that effort. Would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you, Senator. I think one thing you need to appreciate, Senator, is that I had a very strong team working with me at the Department of Justice. I had some of the finest lawyers that I've ever met working with me at the Department of Justice. It was a team. It included Trump appointees. It included career people. I'm sure there were Republicans and Democrats. And that's why I'm confident, Senator, in what I did, because I spoke with my team, not Mr. McCabe. I didn't rely on Mr. McCabe. I spoke with my team about the actions that I was taking to make sure that they were appropriate. I did not say that Mr. McCabe misled me. Those were not my words. I think he's responding to somebody's question. What I said was he did not reveal the Comey memos to me for a week. And that is true. And he revealed them to me only a couple of hours before they showed up in the New York Times. And he did not reveal to me that he was having internal deliberations with his team about whether to target very high-profile people for investigation. And his position is he didn't have to do that until after he had signed off on it. And that may be true under the rules as they were written at the time, but my view, Senator, was that's the kind of thing that I needed to know. And so I haven't accused him of making misstatements to me. I've simply said that he wasn't fully forthcoming, and I think that's accurate. And I'm confident, Senator, that the folks who work with me will back me up on that. I don't wish Mr. McCabe any ill will. He's suing over his termination. The court will make an appropriate determination about that. But the bottom line is, Senator, for whatever reason, he did not feel comfortable disclosing that information to me for a week. And I think I should have known that earlier, and I think I had a right to know it, and I think I had a right to know the deliberations inside the FBI, because Mr. McCabe knew I had just come into this job. I hadn't been around for 9 months. I didn't know what they were investigating except for what he represented to me, and that was my only source of information. I didn't have the underlying evidence. I didn't talk to the witnesses. So
you were relying on what you were told by the McCabe team, basically, right?
I was relying upon the information that came up from the FBI, and I have not made any unfair allegations against Mr. McCabe, Senator.
Yeah. Well, all I can say as we wrap up here that Mr. McCabe will have the same opportunity you have to sit in that chair, or hopefully in a smaller committee room, and tell us what happened. And the reason that I think he's an appropriate witness is I find it hard to believe, maybe it's possible, that the subsource, the Russian subsource that was interviewed in January and on 2 different occasions after January 2017, told FBI investigators, counterintelligence analysts at the dossier, which is the primary document to get a warrant against Carter Page, was not reliable. It was bar talk. It was hearsay. It was never meant to be used the way it was being used. I find it hard to believe that when the case fell apart against Carter Page in terms of a warrant application, it didn't work its way up to the top. Maybe it's just 2 people at the bottom that withheld exculpatory information. They never shared it with anybody. But that's what we're trying to find out is how could you renew a warrant application in April and June of 2017 when the subsource tells you in January of 2017 the document you need to get the warrant's a bunch of garbage. I want to know how you continue to renew those 2 warrants. Who knew what, when, and where? You say you didn't know. I believe you. But somebody had to know, and Mr. McCabe was the guy most directly in charge, so I look forward to talking with him. we'll hold the record open.
Mr.
And
Chairman?
yes, please.
I just want to be clear about one thing.
Okay.
Have there been any additional facts today that were not in the IG's report?
Yeah, I think what I learned is that the August memo, his team consulted with the Mueller team, but the information in the August memo came from the Mueller people. I didn't know that.
Mr. Rosenstein, does that change your conclusion?
Let me just clarify, Senator, that when Mr. Mueller came on board, he inherited the team that was doing the investigation. So it's true that they're the Mueller people, but they're people that he inherited from the
Well,
department.
like Strzok and Page, right?
Correct.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I didn't know all that. But anyway, a lot more to find out. Thank you very much, and we'll hold the record open for questions, and to be continued. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
On Thursday, the Senate Judiciary Committee meets to consider authorizing subpoenas for